Welcome, everyone, for another edition of WHUR News Corner. This afternoon, I have with me Congressman Kweisi Mfume, Maryland Congressman in the 7th Congressional District. Thank you for joining us, Congressman.
Thank you very, very much for having me. It's been a while, so I'm glad to be back on air.
Oh, the Howard University family and the DMV appreciate you. So, first, I want to talk about the new changes in the state of Maryland and Maryland's new leadership and the new direction they're going. Share us the reaction that you're seeing with the newly elected Wes Moore coming into office.
Well, it's been a very historic year that we're closing out in terms of politics. Wes as the governor elect, Anthony Brown as the attorney general elect, and Brooke Learman as the comptroller elect. I mean, those three positions in and of themselves represent major change, and they all signal a great deal of hope. And with Wes being the titular head of the Democratic Party now here in the state, I think there's reason for a great deal of optimism. He secured more votes in that election than anybody else ever running for governor in the state. So he has a tremendous mandate to govern by.
Talk our an upcoming MLK roundtable will be approaching shortly, and our theme is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Millennials, they say we got next, and they're holding up the justice banner. I want you to share with us as we talk about yesterday of some things that you experienced as a young leader, bringing forth the civil rights, being a part of the civil rights movement.
Well, there's an old adage that some things change and some things remain the same. So when I think of Gen X and I juxtapose that generation against the challenges that we all face in this country, I'm really optimistic. I think every generation finds its niche. You can't prescribe that. It's something that they find intrinsically, and it's something that they find together as a generation. So for my generation, it may have been one thing, the generation after that, something else. But when it comes to basic justice and human rights, I think they're going to be just fine. And part of it is in the fact that they clearly are paying attention to every aspect of what's going on in terms of politics, in terms of justice and injustice, in terms of their own roles and their own destiny. And as long as they continue, as all of us do, to remember the past and to reach back to the past and to look at and learn from the lessons, I think things are going to be just fine. Well, none of us can predict right now what the major challenges of this generation will be. They will be before us, that's for sure, and not too long. And I think more than anything else, this generation will carve its own niche, and they will do that economically, socially, politically, educationally, and otherwise.
When we talk about today and you're on Capitol Hill and seeing so many young leaders as congressional leaders, what is that what is that like as we move forward in a realm of today? We see that we have Black Lives Matter and we have every different type of organization making doing their own movement and have their own message. There isn't just a Dr. King or a Al Sharpton. Our young leaders have their own movement. Do you see that the possibility that could be a next, or our young people just kind of begin to just do how they feel works best for their generation?
Yeah, I'm very, very encouraged. We have a Gen Xer who will be sworn into Congress in just 2 weeks, Maxwell Frost, who's going to come in here and do great, great things. I think it signals the change of a lot of things that have come about as a result of a lot of different movements, like you said. Organizations today are more diversified. Their messages are more appealing in many respects. There is no one leader or one messiah. There are a number of different avenues that are being pursued by organizations and by young people who run those organizations. The key is enduring and maintaining and being able to cobble together victories, which I think it's clear we can see there are a number of them that are already taking place. So it is very encouraging for anybody that served in this body at all for any time to see the tremendous amount of change that's taking place, the number of women, particularly younger women that are being elected. All of that, I think, bodes well for the future of the Congress and for the country.
My last question, Congressman. We see so many millennials taking up the justice banner. What advice do you have for them as they're willing to advance to Dr. King's dream?
Well, justice ought to be non negotiable. And when we talk about justice, it's got to be justice for everybody. I remember a time when the Justice Department in this country wouldn't even enforce basic civil rights law. The Justice Department was essentially the just ICE department. That's all black people got from the Justice Department that we knew of in those days. And so when we talk about justice now, I think more than anything else, we've got to ask ourselves as we fight for it, are we measuring it accurately? Is it affecting and benefiting everybody? And is my justice different from your justice, or is there one set of goals and standards that we kind of measure that by? Whether people are better off today, whether or not the criminal justice system is working, whether or not we're involved the way we ought to be involved. Are we taking the challenges, whether they're domestic or international, and adding what we can to correct the wrongs? So it's a huge banner, this justice banner. We all want to stand under it, as we should. We just have to protect it and not let somebody co-opt it and turn it into something that is not justice, but rather, as I said before, just ICE.
Congressman Mfume, thank you for joining us. That's it for our edition of WHUR News Corner. Continue to follow us on all of our social media websites and our social media sites, and continue to follow us on our website at WHUR.com. I'll see you guys in a minute.